Two Wheels this week, Jeff rides BMW's answer to the Starship Enterprise, their new K1200 LT. Also, we take a trip to Glasgow to visit the home of Scott Oilers, and a look at Suzuki's hot GSXR 600.
Going in reverse is about the only thing that's backward on BMW's latest super tourer, the K1200 LT. Everything else is millennium proof, a bike to take you to the future and beyond, a long distance mile eater if ever there was one. From massive fairing to commodious boot, this is the BMW 7 Series of the bike world. Yes, we've already got our wings, our pans and electroglides, but they're not as classy as this. This is, as the Germans call it, an integrated design concept. But no matter what you call it, if you're looking for the ultimate super tourer, this could be the bike for you. And even if you're an avid sports bike rider, stay tuned, because this bike has got some surprises in store. It starts with the revised, recammed, remapped 1200cc engine from the K1200 RS, pumping out a respectable 97 brake horse. But not only that, it delivers a massive 74 pounds of torque from a lowly 2,800 revs, which means you can wind it on from 20 to 120 without changing a gear. In fact, fifth gear serves as an overdrive with just 4,000 revs showing at 80 miles an hour. It's a hefty lump of a bike at 351 kilos, but that's less than a wing and just 5 kilos more than the Harley Electroglide. And look at what you get. First thing, that reverse gear. Now, it's not a gimmick, you actually need it if you're going to avoid a hernia and a very high-pitched voice. This is the little lever down here. Start up the old motor. Then just flick this backwards into reverse there. You might have to rock it a little bit. There we go. And then you actually press the starter button again, just like a gold wing. And away we go. Easy. When you've done, flick it back, and that's it. But now for the real techno bits. First, the electrically operated screen. In its low position for high speed, but when the weather gets really foul, look what you can do. You've also got these additional perspex deflectors to keep some blast off your arm, and that's whether the fairing is up or down. So we can simply lower that off the left button. And beneath it, you've got these deflectors here as well, one of these either side. Now you can fold that against the bodywork like that. That's to get a cooling blast in the hot weather, or have it there to keep the cold off you in the cold weather. And just look at this for the flight deck. Absolutely amazing. Up there you've got fairly conventional instruments, speedo and rev counter there, fuel gauge, temperature gauge, digital clock of course. Then you switch on and you get this little lot, all these lights flashing. That's to check your brakes and the ABS, make sure that's honky-dory, indicators, all the rest of it. Over here on the left bar you've got your cruise control here. BMW's lovely little indicators here, which I won't say anything too bad about them. You do get used to them, but I do find them confusing first off. Here you've got the switch for the old screen, no troubles there. Mute button there, which is for the radio. Also a volume control there and a channel changer, and that's for the radio and CD player, by the way. Over here again, conventional BMW stuff as far as the lights go. Heated grips that this one's got. Again, indicators there and the cancel switch, starter button there. But if you come down to the toys here, this is where you've got the radio, FM, just as in a car. It's got all the facilities on there, scrolling through different bands, etc. And it's also got a CD player as well. This is the top of the range gizmo. You've got a cassette as well, so just in case you're really bored and can't find anything on the radio, open up this little panel here, and there we have the cassette player. Very neat, and even a little compartment there to put your wallet in and spare coins, and a little torch as well, just in case you're in the dark and you can't find anything. Very clever. Now, forgetting the entertainment centre for just a little while, if we can, putting the ignition back on, it's got some really practical touches here. Onboard computer with a little button here, display over there. There's the temperature, 17.5 degrees C. There's the current miles per gallon, 44.7, which isn't bad. There's the mileage until you run dry, 142 miles to go. There's the average speed, 19.9 miles an hour. You might think it's a bit slow, but we do have to do a lot of messing around while we're filming, and so that's my excuse anyway. Over here, we've got a knob for adjusting the headlamp level. So when you're carrying a pillion passenger or the back's fully loaded, you can just tilt the old headlamp up or down. Very, very neat. And you're probably asking, if that's the top of the tank, how do you fill it up with petrol? Well, this is how you fill it up with petrol. Turn the bars to one side, press on there, lift up the old flap, and there's your fuel filler cap. Very, very neat. It's even got a map reading light. Look at that. Think of everything. And now I suppose you're wondering, where on earth have they put the CD player? I'll show you. Get the old stand down. It's over here in the right hand pannier. Very nice panniers these, very secure. Push button lock there, with that lever, and it's really well engineered, a real solid feel to it. Comes down, look at that, nice little retaining strap. And there we are. And it's not just an ordinary CD player, it's a 6-stacker as well. So brilliant piece of kit. And all very nice to keep you company on those long European trips. Not bad, eh? But how does it all work out on the road? Brilliantly. This really is a tour de force. Despite its bulk, it's no slouch, and 60 comes up in just 5 seconds. Not Hayabusa speed, but turn up the volume and forget such things. This is for chilling out, not going flat out. The handling is a revelation. Once rolling, you can actually pitch it into bends like a sports tourer. No lardy wallowing, no top heavy feeling. That brilliant telelever fork really comes into its own. The braking too is spot on. The ABS works a treat, and that telelever again prevents front end dive. The fairing is really effective, and because of the long wheelbase, you don't seem to get affected by crosswinds. The electric screen really does work. Low for high speed, high for a quiet life. And talking of screens, this one's fitted with a taller screen for me, but whether you're tall or short, you can actually adjust the seat height, which is really neat. So get the old key, unlock the old pannier again, press the button, hear that nice click there, drop the pannier down, it's got my gear in there. But here you've got a release knob there, so that's nice and secure for the seat. Pull that, seat comes up, it's got a little hydraulic ram under the seat to keep the seat up there. And see these little toggles? Down if you're long-legged, up there if you're short. They fit into 2 sockets down here under the seat, if you can see those two. There they are. And so you've got a sort of, what, about an inch there, 30mm, something like that. And while I've got the seat up, look at this. See this contraption here? Fold out as well so you don't get mucky hands, but this is an adjustable knob to adjust the spring preload on the rear shocker. But again, all very neat and tidy, and you can get at the battery there. Good stuff. Thought of everything, as they say. There we go. Ready for the road. Now we've shown you the panniers, but this has got plenty of luggage space. The top box here, it almost does it a disservice to call it top box. Again, a very secure clip there and a lock for it. Open it up. 2 full face helmets in there, no problem, they fit in there easily. And look at this, if you saw 2 wheels when we did one from the Birmingham show, you might have seen the old vanity mirror there. There it is, very clever. Look in there. Not hankies, but that's actually a tubular, or rather a tundish type filler to top up the engine oil. So it's a disposable paper filler. Think of everything, don't they? Think of everything. Look, you've got a little light in there as well. You're not short of anything. Nice little strap there. The attention to detail on this is amazing. But it doesn't finish there, because obviously this top box also serves as a superb backrest for your pillion passenger. Beautifully upholstered. You've got your speakers either side. Something I didn't mention before, you've even got your own individual volume controls there and a mute button. Twin speakers. But heated backrest as well, heated seat, heated rider's seat as well. Now with all these trimmings, I know what you're thinking, this is a hellish heavy bike. Well, it is heavy, but they've thought of that too. See these big wings here? These are bumpers, just in case you should drop it, falls on the floor, it'll fall on those and won't smash your fairing to smithereens. It's got a hefty prop stand, which is easy to operate from the bike. And it's even got a centre stand, and believe me, that isn't too bad to operate either. I'm actually sloping uphill, or rather the bike's pointing downhill, but it's got a hefty grab rail here, and there's the old centre stand there. It's on its prop stand. Put it down as you would a normal bike, heave it upright, make sure it's square on, press down, and there we go. Well, I can still speak in a deep voice. No doubt about it, BMW have really thought this auto barnstormer through. It's got style and panache. It's clean with a 3-way catalytic converter fitted as standard and reasonably economical at 45.50 to the gallon. You might not think it your sort of bike, but it does redefine the Grand Tourer, and at $12,950 on the road for the standard machine, it's only £200 more than the Wing, but oh so much more of a bike.
After the break, we get lubricated in Glasgow and a ride on Suzuki's GSXR 600. This is Fraser Scott, the man who over 20 years ago began to design a lubrication system which we now know as the Scott Oiler. Fraser still works at his factory in Scotland, and he can be found most days grafting away in his personal workshop on even more inventions.
So enough of the history lesson from Paul about Fraser, let's get on to the real stuff. We've come to Glasgow. In fact, we're just a little bit outside Glasgow. We've been here hours, not even seen Billy Connolly once. And I'm going to show you all about this stuff, these brackets and bolts and tubes and valves and everything you can think of. All sorts of bits and pieces to produce and assemble such as this. What's this, you might ask? A lubricating device, and that's how it ends up in the shops, just like you buy it.
And in that kit that you buy from the shop, you will have one of these, which is one of the various types of oil reservoir. And here we've got a demo model to show you just some of the various locations that you could fit that. There's one down there, one higher up at the back. There's actually one under the seat hump on this one in a horizontal position, because people think they need to be vertical. They don't. They will work that way. They're that clever. But as you can appreciate, that doesn't hold a great amount of oil. In fact, they reckon that with the various settings that are available on this, you could probably get between 500 and 1,000 miles on it, which is not perfect if you're going on a long distance touring holiday. So you need a big reservoir. And what they did at first, they started off putting shampoo bottles under the seat and all sorts, and I believe they actually used blood bags at one point under the seat, full of oil of course. But what they've done now, they've gone even better than that, and we have this full touring kit, which is mounted right there behind the number plate, nicely out of the way. That would normally be fastened on, and here it is like that. Big reservoir with a window in the side now, so you can see how much oil you've got, and that sits just in there like that. Very, very neat. And with one of these, with that amount of oil, you can now travel quite easily somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000 miles, which is perfect for that long distance touring holiday.
So I suppose you'll be wondering how it all works, eh? Look at that, eh? Just leave it in the car park, eh, at Granada, and look what happens, eh? It's very simple. There's oil in this reservoir device here, which is adjustable at the top. It goes down a tube onto your chain. All that is done with the clever aid of a vacuum, just like this one.
No, not that kind of vacuum. What's it like, him at all? This kind of vacuum, the kind that works off your carburetors. Now, carburetors, as soon as you mention that word, people get frightened off because they're very technical things, aren't they? But you needn't be frightened, because it really is very simple to do. On this particular machine, an R6, we have a couple of tubes here that come out of the back of the cylinders. There's one there between cylinders 1 and 3, and another one there between 2 and 4. And normally in that tube lives this, which is a little blank. Doesn't actually do anything. You would only normally remove that if you wanted to balance up your carbs on a meter. So in fact you can probably just see it there in situ on that tube. So here between cylinders 1 and 3 we've actually taken that out. We don't need it, and we've fitted this little T-piece, and onto that goes this, just like that, and that provides you a vacuum for your oiler system. It's really that simple. Don't be frightened. Now this is an R6, it's got carburetors. Maybe you've got a fuel injected bike. Well, don't be put off, because there will be somewhere that you can fit it.
So Paul there was with an R6, and you might think if you had an R6 or a sports bike of similarities you wouldn't need a lubrication system. Well, you might, because you might go distance, and if you did have one with a posy machine, you'd want to put something posy on it. Well, why not? I've got just the thing here. This is at development stage at the moment, and what they've done is use some nice bracketry, anodised alloys, some braided hose all nicely covered and everything. Looks the part. We're even considering a nice wrap to go over the reservoir to look the business. So with all these posy things in some lovely colours, suits a superbike. You'll want that, won't you, because it's posy. Well, you can have it. Looks nice, doesn't it?
So you see, he's thought of everything, Fraser Scott. In fact, he's probably still here somewhere working away in his little workshop, coming up with some other fantastic invention. He just never stops. But you might have noticed something that every time Wayne and I go on a Two Wheels at Works trip, I finish up on my own because he always gets lost. But I've got a good idea where he'll be.
You can't not come to Scotland without getting well oiled, can you? Eh? Cheers.
Okay, so if I said name the bike, you'd say GSXR. But which GSXR? You'd have a 50-50 chance of being right. It could be a 600, it could be a 750. And while I'm stood in the way of this badge on the back, you'd really never know. The 750, for a number of years, has been at the top of many people's shopping lists when looking for a high-performance sports machine. But more and more people are now moving down a bracket to the 600 class. And it's fair to say that Suzuki have never really had a serious contender. That was until 1997, when they released this, the GSXR 600. It really is very similar to the 750 in many ways. This twin spar aluminium frame is in fact exactly the same. The swing arm, however, is different, hasn't got the big brace across it that you'll find on the bigger bike, and it means the whole geometry is different and gives it a shorter wheelbase. In fact, the shortest wheelbase of any of the 600cc sports class. Front suspension is different. Here we've got 45mm shower suspension, adjustable for rebound and preload, and at the back, everything you'd expect to find on a high performance machine. Monoshock with remote reservoir, and that's fully adjustable for preload, rebound damping and compression. And if you can't find something to suit you the way you ride in that lot, then quite frankly I should give up. Perhaps the most striking similarity is of course the distinctive GSXR shape and the bodywork. It is, believe it or not, exactly the same. So how does it all work? Well, the short answer is very, very well. You've got 600cc's of inline 4-cylinder, which Suzuki claim produces 104 brake horsepower, and it'll take you to a top speed of 156 miles per hour. The engine is very, very revvy, very buzzy, and the red line doesn't appear till an incredible 13,500 RPM, and you really do need to be pushing it at over 7,000 RPM to get anything like decent performance. I reckon you could plonk a non-sports bike rider on this, and they'd quite happily tootle around all day at maybe below 6,000 RPM. They'd bring it back and they'd wonder what all the fuss was about, because below that you really don't get any kind of performance. But if you're willing to push the revs hard, it really does come to life. So how does it compare to other 600s? You'd have to say it's not as comfy as Honda's CBR 600, and it hasn't got the same smooth power delivery as Kawasaki's ZZR 600. But if you're into more racy lines and a more racy riding position and you're prepared to work the engine hard, then it's a good choice. Talking of riding positions, something that you'll notice when you get on one is if you're not riding like this with your head on the tank and you're a little more upright like this, then it's actually difficult to see the speedo and the rev counter because you're looking through the top part of this clear screen here, and if that was a tinted screen you'd have no chance of seeing what was going on. Just that's the way the curvature of the front is, and it's such a racy look that it's a small price to pay, I suppose. Talking of racy looks, if you want to go for the full racetrack look, you can do this little trick. Pop your key under there, release the latch and remove the pillion pad, and you can replace that with a rear cowling there. Converts it into a single seat and makes it look a bit more racetracky. And let's face it, you wouldn't want too many people to spend too long sat on that, would you? And while we're at the back end, if you get turned on by rubber, you've got a rubber fetish and you're into big fat rear tyres, then you'll like the 180 section fitted to the rear of the GSXR. I think it's fair to say that the GSXR hasn't exactly taken the 600 sports bike class by storm, not because it's overpriced. £7,200 compares very favourably with everything else in its class. It's probably because it's a bit more radical, it looks more racy, it looks more like a race rep, more of a race thoroughbred. And because of this and because of its motor, it requires a slightly different riding technique. You really have to work the engine quite hard, keep the revs up to get the best out of its performance. So if you're into high revs and precision racetrack handling, then here it is. If you attended this year's BMF show, you'll know what a fantastic event it was, with bikers from across Europe making the trip to Peterborough. On Two Wheels next week, we'll have some of the highlights of this year's show.